Hello! What's next is to start working on bigger, longer-term issues to improve FamilySearch GEDCOM, especially as we make the file specification more appropriate globally. Important areas that need to have multiple lengthy discussions for valuable future changes are calendars, hypotheses, names, places, relationships, and source and citations. But remember, we need to follow the rules of semantic versioning. Major changes may break the standard. Code would have to be revised to read and write. Many of the topics of this video could be considered a major change or may be implemented with minor version changes. Minor changes does not break the standard. Patches are just bug fixes. How people think about people, places, relationships, countries, and culture is different all over the world. Our presenters today will point out some very important differences that we need to accommodate sooner than later. Our knowledgeable, experienced presenters today are James Tanner, Russell Lynch, Albert Emmerich, Dave Thaler, and Luther Tykonovich.
This is James Tanner. I'm also a member of the GEDCOM Steering Committee. The dominant way of recording names in genealogy programs has long been defined in 4 fields, including the following: prefix, first or given name, last or surname, and suffix. The GEDCOM Steering Committee and the developer community have discussed expanding this present view to accommodate alternative naming patterns, such as those cultures that do not fall within the confines of these fields. This can include naming patterns that change over time, names that consist of a patronymic string of given names, and other structures not currently well served by the 4 limiting categories. These changes may require an adjustment to the underlying database schema and may also require a change to GEDCOM readers to retain the sequence of multiple subrecords with the same tag or part. We are requesting comments regarding how to expand from the current specified name tags and option subordinate tags to a more generalized open set of tags with a rich set of subordinate tags. The goal is to genealogically preserve names as they differ from culture to culture. There are many examples in the notes of other naming conventions that fall into the same category of lacking support from the current versions of GEDCOM. We invite you to come and help us better accommodate the cultures of the world. There are approximately 80 different calendar systems in general use among the countries of the world. There are also many historical records that contain references to dates in calendars that are no longer used. The dominant system historically relies on the Gregorian system. Presently, the main issue with the dates is whether the month or the day appears in the first entry field. There is also an issue about whether abbreviations are permitted. The GEDCOM Steering Committee, with the input from developers and others, has discussed several ideas about how to incorporate and therefore record and preserve the dates in historical records. One solution that has been discussed is requiring a standard Gregorian-based date as is used by most of the countries of the world, while at the same time providing for the entry of alternative dates. There has also been discussion about the need to provide a way to link to a currently available calendar converter program for conversion of the non-Gregorian calendar date to a corresponding date in the Gregorian calendar. Many of these programs already exist online. We are again requesting anyone who would like to participate on a committee to consider this topic.
Hello. When we created the GEDCOM data model in the 1990s, we created a feature for source citation record structures and a repository. This allows users to cite a source, include facts, and describe their evidence. The model also allows users to indicate the quality of the data in a source record, as was mentioned. The status of a child-to-parent linkage also exists with values for challenged, disproven, and proven. We kept these features in GEDCOM 7.0. We added a non-event structure to express when an event did not happen within a given date period or never happened. These are minimal changes that are insufficient to express assertions, alternate solutions, or a hypothesis. Additional features are needed which will require significant changes. We also need time to develop it. Research conclusions relate to an individual's identity, facts about an individual such as biographical events and characteristics, and relationships between two people. That's generally either child to parent or a spouse. The analysis comes in three forms. There's source analysis, record analysis, and linkage analysis. This is well described by Robert Anderson in Elements of Genealogical Analysis. The analysis can get complicated. A source may be reliable for many of its entries, but not for one that applies to the research question. A specific record in a source may have an error that other sources confirm, and the linkage of the source record to the individual may have a problem. Also, some conclusions require elaborate proof statements to explain the user's logic, especially if it is a complex research problem. The proof statement requires bundling multiple sources and correlating the evidence from them. At times, the proof also includes negative evidence with an explanation as to why a person is not mentioned in a source, or why a source is referring to another individual, often of the same name. For these reasons, a future version of GEDCOM needs to support a more elaborate way to show uncertainty with linkage analysis, identity, and relationships. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Thaler, and I'm going to talk a bit about some challenges with sources and citations that need to be addressed. So in GEDCOM 551, it used a very simple model for expressing source information, relying on the user to enter text free-form in a limited number of fields such as author, title, and so on. Well, it turns out to be hard to use those fields to conform to style guides such as Evidence Explained or others, since things like whether a title is in italics or quotation marks varies by type of source. Second, there's also often a need to take the same source data and generate footnotes or bibliographic information in multiple formats, such as for different reports or publications. Similarly, you might import a file created by someone who prefers a citation style different from the style you prefer. Thus, the goal is to allow easy conversion between different style guides, rather than only supporting a single style chosen by one contributing user. Third gap is that GEDCOM today doesn't yet support expressing sources of sources. For example, a source can be a translation, a transcript, or abridgment of one or more other sources. Or you might want to record the stewardship, such as the passing of a family Bible or other heirloom from generation to generation. A fourth gap is that of containment. When GEDCOM supports a page in a source, but there's often additional levels of containment, such as a page in an article, in a journal volume, in a journal series. So today, you have to copy the series information into every source in the series, which can lead to inconsistencies. And finally, the gap most closely related to hypotheses is expressing reliability or confidence in sources. So GEDCOM today can express the quality of a citation, but not the reliability of a source itself. So for example, a source might be known to contain many errors, or even be known to be fraudulent, but it might still be important to cite as a source. Importantly, reliability of a source as a whole is different from reliability of a specific item cited for a given conclusion. And secondly, the granularity of citations is quite limited in GEDCOM today. For example, one can provide a citation associated with an event, but you cannot easily cite a source with differing confidence in the date versus the place of the event. All these limitations are important to address going forward, and we invite the community to participate in discussing requirements and solutions for them. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Albert Emmerich from Germany. I developed a genealogical application and joined the GEDCOM-L, a group representing some 20 applications in the German market. Since 2009, we have been discussing and improving data transfer based on GEDCOM 5.5.1. Today, I will talk to you about places. The places where our ancestors were living are an important part of the information we have about their life, including the political, social, and cultural conditions. When researching the lives of our ancestors, we have to find sources about them. Most sources are stored in some library or archive in a nearby city, maybe in a central archive of county, state, or even country. So it is very important to know how the civil and church administration was organized at the time of the events. Most of the properties of a place are changing with time. That includes the names of a place. For example, there are a lot of places where German families were living in the 19th century, which nowadays are in Poland, Russia, France, or another country, and they got new names in the new language. Breslau in Schlesien, Germany, became Wrocław in Poland, as one example. You have to know both. More often, the administrative organization is modified. The place is now in another county, the county in another state, and so on. The relations of churches to villages vary by time, too. So far, the GEDCOM standard is not prepared to fully cover this important part of genealogical research. As example, we have the comma-separated hierarchy: city, county, state, country. But you only have one choice. Take the hierarchy at the time of your ancestor, you will not find the archive of today. Take the hierarchy of today, you may have totally different names of all levels. The link in between our ancestors' time and our time is missing. Today, to be able to exchange full data of places, you need extensions. We have the problem that most applications do not understand extensions given by another application, and so data are lost. A new GEDCOM model should cover the requirements to document name of a place in different languages changing with time, time-dependent administrative reorganizations on all levels, time-dependent geographical coordinates and boundaries, events related to the place, facts like number of households, inhabitants given at different dates, identities like postal zip code, administrative IDs, these changing with time. There's a high priority to have an upgraded place structure in the GEDCOM standard. As FamilySearch GEDCOM 7.0 was designed to have a first smaller step to the future, a new place structure was not yet implemented. To define the new place structure, we can look at solutions already defined as GEDCOM extensions. The most elaborated extension was defined by the German GEDCOM L group. This extension, using location records, covers all the features we have seen we need: time dependence, multiple relations in between places, and administrative, jurisdictional, and church levels. This may be a good starting point. I hope the next major GEDCOM version will implement a place record model, and I ask for cooperation to prepare it.
Relationships are at the core of most family history research. To understand improvements we hope to make in them, we first need to understand how GEDCOM currently stores this information. The primary relationship structure inside of GEDCOM, since the very earliest days of GEDCOM, has been the FAM record. This is organized to mirror a genetic relationship, one father, one mother, and any number of children, but is used for cases other than genetic relationships. All types of social and family relationships are also stored in this same structure. However, the structure is limited. Because of its basic design, it cannot, for example, express polygamy, where there are more than two spouses in any natural way. And most cultures either currently have or have had some form of polygamy at some point in the past. It also has limited ability to represent relationships such as fostering and adoption and guardianship and wardship, these family-like relationships that don't clearly match the basic model. It isn't particularly good at storing notions of extended families when those are socially important. Besides chaining together a variety of fam records, we don't have a great ability to represent that one particular uncle or aunt was significant to a family where others might have been less so. It doesn't do a great job of storing ideas of false paternity and other kinds of situations where the genetic and social relationships don't line up. All these can be done with it, but there's some limitations and some forcing that has to happen to make it work. To help address these issues, various additions have come in various versions of GEDCOM to this basic FAM record. For example, version 3 was the first one to introduce some notion of a way of flagging an adoption, which was extended and expanded in version 5, and remains the primary way that adoptions and fostering and the like can be stored in GEDCOM today, but it lacks some of the versatility and detail we might hope for representing those relationships. Version 5.0 also added the ability to connect individuals to one another with a direct individual to an individual association. has been expanded in version 7 to also allow families to have associated individuals, to get some of this idea that a family might have more than a pair of partners. And it's also been expanded to allow individuals to be associated with events. These add a great deal of flexibility and ability to represent more family relationships, but it also has a situation where the same family relationship or individual relationship might be expressed in multiple ways, making it more complicated for tools to know how to visualize them, and there remain some relationships that are not a good fit for any of the tools available. So we're currently in the situation of trying to collect the requirements, collect many examples of different relationships we want to represent, understand the various ways they can be modeled in the current system, and try to draft and design some future recommendations. Because we're still in the requirements gathering phase, we have probably several years of work before we come out with recommendations in a future version of GEDCOM that will go beyond the simple FAM record.
These were great previews to very important issues by our presenters today. Don't forget to join one of these teams by sending out an email to GEDCOM@FamilySearch and put in the subject project, and the project name. If you want to learn more and ask questions, don't miss the live online Roots Tech Q&A about FamilySearch GEDCOM. Search for it and save the date and time.